Let me start off with the following. I am a former socialist. I was a socialist for the last, 12 years ago, and I can say 100% that what you see with the current debate about critical race theory is in fact rooted in socialist politics, in socialist theory. Socialists themselves many times openly admit this. But for those of you who think that would like to actually see this, I mean, it's a simple Wikipedia travel. Critical race theory, right? Grounded in critical theory. Critical theory is this social philosophy that's grounded in the Frankfurt School. Frankfurt School is considered this specific sort of academic Marxism, if you will, and you typically see the following people mentioned all the time: Marcuse, Adorno, Fromm, Horkheimer, Lukács, right? Gramsci, right? You see the same names always mentioned, and I will say it is good for those of you who are concerned about this critical race theory to go and read these people, both the individuals that they are citing, citing for defending critical race theory and for defending critical theory. And critical theory kind of opens up into a bunch of other things. If you want to know what you're against, it is important to accurately understand what they're saying. We don't want to be pigeonholed into this claim of, we don't really understand what we're against, right? So, again, as a former socialist, I can tell you 100%, this critical race theory, grounded in critical theory from the Frankfurt School, is entirely a socialist academic philosophy. And it's a wrong one. It's a wrong one for many reasons. And I'm not going to really focus on critical race theory. I'm going to focus on this idea about what you see with colleges. Colleges today are getting rid of the SAT requirement or the ACT requirement. Typically, a college will look at a few different things. They want to see SAT scores or ACT scores. They want to see how you perform on a standardized test. And then they want to see your GPA from high school, so the overall performance of how you did. But what you see a lot of schools doing now is they are getting rid entirely of the SAT score. And oftentimes they're doing so under the basis of SAT math scores are racist, or SAT in general is racist. All right, here we go. This is from the National Education Association, which is a huge proponent of critical race theory. They put out an article, The Racist Beginnings of Standardized Testing. And to me, it is one of the most appalling things to see these leftists say, hey, making black kids, making minorities, except Asians, right? But making minorities generally take standardized testing is racist. This is appalling. Like they essentially have such low opinions of the capabilities of minority students that they just claim it to be racist. And I will say this, a college that is not looking at how a student does on a standardized test and is only looking at their GPA is going to fall for this issue right here, grade inflation. A lot of high schools and middle schools and elementary schools right now are engaging in grade inflation. Do you think I am lying? I'm not. There are many teachers who have seen this, and they will openly tell you. They had a bunch of students, and ultimately what occurred is the administration wants all these students to be moved on to the next grade level. And typically, if a student does not move on to the next grade level, it is because the parent specifically asked for the student to be held back because they need extra time, right? They felt like their own child didn't get what they should have gotten. And you don't typically see that. I think you see that from a parent who has high expectations for their child, and unfortunately that child just had a bad year. Well, schools are doing this. Schools are manipulating the grades. So I will be the first one to say the grade point average that you see coming out of high schools, it's not a reliable indicator of a student's success. And then, does it surprise anybody when we have individuals who go into campuses and they ask students basic questions about civics or geography or math, right? Basic math questions, that they're not able to answer these. Colleges and universities are going down a road to where they are no longer aimed at helping train the generation of young individuals for their major career, and they're just being turned into this sort of indoctrination camp. I mean, and you see this in other areas here. Here we go. SAT and systemic racism, right? This is from last year. It's all over the place. They even go so far as to say, and this is something a lot of people saw recently, dismantling racism in mathematics instruction. And I want to point out something very specific here. The I do. Okay? I do, we do, the primary focus of class. I do, we do, you do is a very basic concept. The teacher, I'll do this. I will show it on the chalkboard, on the whiteboard, on the projector, and I will walk through how to do this thing, how to do this math problem, or how this grammar point plays out, right? How to use this in a sentence. Right? But you typically will see it with math. I do this. I will do it in front of you. We do. Okay, now that I have done it, let's do it together. And then that's where the teacher will go down and call on Jimmy or Johnny or Timmy or what other stereotypical name, and they'll call them. And there's various methods of questioning they'll use to try to help them arrive at the right process. Right? They're trying to help their minds understand how to get to the answer. And then you get some personal practice. This book, which I believe was funded by the California government, I do, we do, you do is a primary focus of class. White supremacist culture shows up in math classrooms when that's the primary format of the class. So basically all math classes are racist because they follow a basic, time-tested, trusted formula of teaching. This is ridiculous. Folks, as a former leftist, I am telling you, you are seeing this stuff in classrooms. You're seeing it mostly, you've seen it for the past few years in certainly California, New York, Washington, Portland classrooms, right? You're seeing this in a lot of liberal bastions, liberal school districts. I say liberal very liberally here because liberalism apparently today just means communism half the time. And you really should push against this. And I want to say something else, just something else for the record. A lot of my former comrades, they're not genuine. They are trying to destroy America's youth internally. They're trying to destroy their minds, and they're trying to essentially set them up for failure. Meanwhile, they don't criticize communist governments at all. In fact, many of them straight up work for these communist and authoritarian governments. And again, those communist government, they're pushing I do, we do, you do. You're not going to see them criticize China for following this, although I guess China is more I do, you do. I don't know how much we do, they do. But hey, I don't know. I'm not an expert on their system. What I am an expert on is American leftism. Just following my channel, and you will see I'm not wrong. I did used to be a part of that left. But unfortunately, it has gone too crazy. So, Americans, if you're worried about your future, fight against this stuff.